is the Vintage RPG Podcast, your source for the best in classic and contemporary RPGs. With your hosts, Hambone and Stu.
Welcome to the Vintage RPG Podcast, coming at you again from the clubhouse, hidden somewhere in the swamps of New Jersey. I'm John Hambone McGuire, and with me, as always, the editor-in-chief of Unwinnable.com. He brought a game so obscure, I couldn't even come up with a joke this time. Stu Horvath.
You know, you were talking about how you had the joke, and I've been dying to hear what the joke is, and that was actually pretty good. You kind of swerved on me.
You know, sometimes you zig, I zag. So today we're going to be talking about an obscure game from 1985 called Jorune.
Skyrealms of Jorune. Get it
I
right,
stand corrected. But first, we're going to talk about a game that Stu recently played called Monarch.
Monarch's cool. Monarch's a game where you play a bunch of sisters who are trying to become queen, which I think is, you know, one of those really subtle things that you could do to a game to make it just feel more inclusive. When you have a bunch of guys sitting around the table calling each other sister. Hey, sister. How you doing, sister? What's going on, sister?
So you're all sisters.
Yeah, everybody's a sister.
I like it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Fun.
It's designed by women. The art is so fantastic on the cards. The one problem is that the information on the cards, because the art is so beautiful, the information on the cards is very small. So I would have liked bigger cards, maybe.
Right. So for my special eyes, it's kind of tough.
Yeah. So basically, you have two types of resources split between a grid of 3x3 cards, right? A proportion of them will be farms that generate food, and then a proportion of them will be cities that will generate taxes. You need to pay the city's food to get taxes.
Okay.
You know, you can take from one or the other during the turns, and it's sort of like a little bit of like a resource management thing.
Oh, you know I love resource management.
Exactly. So once you get the money, you can use that to buy cards from the market. The cards in the market are the things that you're trying to create the coolest court, you know, like have the coolest people, the weirdest animals, the best food. And if you have the most points at the end, you win.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward. It's a 4-player game, you know, pretty head to head. You get really into the weeds and sort of how your cards synergize to generate points. There's different suits, like different types. I can't recall any of them off the top of my head, of course. You know, it's not like we do a podcast or anything.
No.
Right?
Not like we prepare for this or anything.
But there's the animal trainer, and then there's like battle, and then there's like learning and wisdom. And, you know, they all sort of have synergies where like you'll get a card that's like 1 point for every, you know, blue card that you have. And then you're working all of these like little systems to try and maximize the amount of points that all of your cards make.
Okay.
So it's sort of infuriating because you're really trying to buy the cards that you want while everybody else is trying to buy those cards too. But you also have a really hard time seeing what other people's points are at any given time.
Is it as infuriating as Alhambra?
It's like a close cousin of Alhambra.
Okay. I got you doing it now.
Yeah. The thing that really sells me about this game, though, is the art. It's so good and weird and kind of like, it has just a very fairy tale vibe to it. It's all scratchboard kind of style.
And who's the artist?
Kate Adams, which I feel like is a very normal sounding name for a person who creates such beautiful artwork.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it.
No. She's great, and it gives the game a whole different vibe than a lot of board games.
I love it. I am psyched to play this game.
I can't believe that you've never played it. It's a 4-player game, so it doesn't
That's
really
why.
get a lot of table time.
Yeah. I tend to notice that at the clubhouse, there is those moments where you have to show up on nights where you don't think that many people are going to show up with a 4-player game.
I was really upset because I was sick this past week and we couldn't have board game night. And you guys there were so many people off doing other stuff.
Right.
But I was like, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be a small board game night. We can play something with 3 players.
Yeah.
And then I was sick. Crap.
Yeah, you totally screwed yourself out of that one.
Yeah.
Damn the flu.
Seriously.
Well, you had like the flu. I got the con cold from going to WrestleCon.
Well, I've had like this cold that's been haunting me for 3 or 4 months now. So it's just, I might be dying.
Have you tried burning sage?
You saying I'm like possessed or something?
I mean, it's all I got left. I'm out of moves. And I'm clearly not a man of science.
I'm just saying this might be our last podcast.
Oh, no.
You never know.
Well, I mean,
I've recovered. I'm good. I'm good.
If it is, I'd hate to think that we're going out with Jorune.
Well, hey.
Talk about ending on a whimper.
I love this game. I think it's great.
Well, let's move on to Jorune. I am first going to say I am amped to finally sit down and play Monarch, probably on a night when most of our friends don't show up, but I am here for Monarch. Oh, wait, before we go any further, we have something awesome to announce.
Oh my God, I can't believe we almost forgot about this, but Hambone, we have a partner. We have a sponsor.
What?
Someone likes us.
I want to like them back.
I think it's a mutual thing.
That's awesome.
So the partner is Noble Knight Games. And if you know anything about collecting role-playing games, you know Noble Knight, no doubt. Every time I look to fill a hole in my collection, I almost inevitably find them on eBay selling what I want.
There you go.
So we've partnered up. We're going to be working together for a bunch of stuff, and they are being gracious enough to give us a discount code for our listeners and readers on the Instagram feed.
Oh, wow. That is super cool. So we want you all to check them out at nobleknight.com and use the coupon code NobleVintage. Now, what's awesome about this is if you use the coupon code NobleVintage at checkout, it gives all orders online or in store $5 off any order over $25 or more. Now, this expires on May 12th, so definitely shoot over to their website and check them out. I'm pretty sure they're going to have whatever you're looking for to fill that gap in your collection.
They've got hundreds of thousands of items in their warehouse. I'm sure you can find something.
Definitely. So if you're looking for something cool, new, used, past or present, Noble Knight's got it all. Check them out. Tell us a little bit about Jorune.
So I'm going to make you eat your derision. You're going to choke on your mockery because Jorune is super cool. Now, picture 1984. I think that we've sort of talked about this before on the podcast, but this is the golden age of people ripping off Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody and their brother is like, I'm going to just basically wholesale copy the basics of the system.
2 different fantasy words with an ampersand in the middle.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Exactly. And we're all going to do this, and we're all going to put like different weird skins on it, and the industry is going to be wild and crazy for a little while. So on a rules system level, Skyrealms of Jorune is at once overly complicated and nothing special.
Okay.
So whatever. Like, it's just another old school role-playing game. Yeah, like we're never going to play it.
Thank God.
Really complicated, but I'm going to tell you why it's overly complicated, and it's going to make you feel like a jerk.
Okay.
So the world was created by Andrew Leker as a high school writing assignment.
Okay.
So this weird ass world is like a high school kid being like, I'm going to jump in to the world of role-playing games and I'm going to make the weirdest thing that I can. And he did. He produced several rule books for this system, and he was a high school kid. You're making fun of a high school kid, Hambone.
Now I feel like a jerk.
I told you.
God. You could have warned me a little better before I walked face first into that one.
Why would I do that?
I know.
So the real special thing about Jorune is how weird the world is. It doesn't look like anything else that was on the market then. It doesn't look at nothing looks like this. You look through the illustrations by
Taven?
Mike Teven. Teven? I've got your disease.
Yeah,
I don't know how to pronounce
I can't pronounce anything.
anymore.
I'm terrible. I just hope that one day some of these creators will actually hear this episode or any of our episodes where we mispronounce the things that they have written and the characters they've created and probably their names, and just drop us a line and say, hey guys, it's Taven.
It's not even Taven. I just looked at the bottom of the box. It's Teves. S. So it's Tevis
Yeah.
or Teves.
Send all hate mail to the Vintage RPG Podcast at unwinnable.com.
So I think that, first of all, Jorune benefits from the fact that Mike, we're just going to call you Mike,
We're good with it.
was the sole artist. He did everything. He did all the concept work, all of the illustrations, and it gives it a kind of unified feel. His art is gorgeous and weird. There's guys without facial features. There's like weird monsters. Everything's got multiple legs. Nothing looks like a traditional monster. Like, there's no touchstone to traditional folklore or anything like that.
I saw a couple creatures in there that kind of look like lycanthropes.
Yeah.
However, it didn't look like anything that D&D was putting out at the time.
No, absolutely not.
Or even like Bernie Wrightson was drawing at the time when he was drawing werewolves.
Yeah, like it's weird and very unique. Mike, whose last name I still can't pronounce, he actually went on to be a concept artist for the movies. So, and you can kind of see that in his work.
Absolutely. And that's what I really do like about his work, is that it definitely has that well-drawn but fast-drawn kind of look to it, as I'm more showing you what the scene looks like than what the monster looks like.
Yeah.
It's just the tone of what's supposed to be jumping off the page at you. There's nothing flat about his art.
He's conveying a lot of information with it. It's not about detail, really. They are, I feel like, nicely detailed, but like that's not the point of them. His style reminds me of Wayne Barlow. He did those, the Guide to Science Fiction Monsters, and
Oh, yeah.
he did like a Guide to Hell. I feel like there's similarities in the style. So, and the other cool thing about the art is that I'm not sure that a lot of people bought or played Jorune. Anybody who opened a Dragon magazine from 1984 to say 1993 knows Jorune through the advertisements that were in there. There's a specific one that's like sort of like this centipede dragon thing. You know it. You've seen it in the ads, and if you know it, you're going to be going like, "Yes, I know exactly what he's saying right now. I know those."
But I never played it.
Bought it, but I always wanted to.
Right.
There's just something weird about it. The cover art has like this really weird kind of Renaissance painting vibe to it. There's a bunch of guys kind of clustered around this dying alien looking dude. And it's just like all of like the sort of the set dressing of a religious painting from Italy.
Well, my knee jerk when I saw that was if it wasn't for a faceless alien and for a lizard creature, you could actually probably go to your local church and hold that up. It looks like one of the Stations of the Cross.
Exactly, yeah.
And there's something I really like about that because I'm sure, artists draw their inspirations from everywhere, but growing up Catholic and being a extremely, extremely lapsed Catholic, like the Grand Canyon of lapsed Catholics, I will tell you that I know the Stations of the Cross. You just look and you're like, okay, I got it.
It's like instinct.
It's instinct.
Yeah.
It's in me.
So the world itself is strange. I think that there was a cataclysm. I'm not sure. There's a lot of similarity between this and Tecumseh and Talislanta and a couple other systems where, something bad happened. I think it might actually be called Earth Tech in Jorune. Basically like Earth stuff, like there's blaster pistols and such.
Right, and I saw the one in there, and it's the Han Solo pistol.
Of course. I mean, what else were you going to do?
What else are you going to do? And it's one of those things that, thank God it was the 80s, because how many copies do I have to sell before I actually get sued because someone noticed?
Not that many.
Yeah.
Well, no, lots, probably.
Lots in the 80s,
Yeah.
not that many in 2019.
Yeah. So, like, you have this idea that there's this weird world that's grown up in a post sort of science fiction, we've already had our day and we've devolved, or, the cataclysm happened and now there's all these aliens and stuff. And it's super weird. Continents are floating in the air and all the monsters are weird. And it's just like one of the problems with the book, and all of this stuff is expressed elaborately in the multiple books that are in the box set. There's like 4 books.
Oh, it's a thick box. Yeah.
And it's full. It's chock full. But one of the problems is that there's this elaborate naming. Everything has a weird name, like a fantasy name. Like the book that is right to my left is the Sholari Guide. Do you know what a Sholari is?
I can barely say Sholari. Just move along.
Do you know why we need a guide for them? Like, I think it's the player's book. No, the player's book is underneath it. So I really don't know what the Sholari
Is it
Guide
actually called the Player's Book, or is there a fun name for that too?
Player's Manual.
Up. There you go.
But, I have the Sholari Guide and the Tauther Guide. What a Tauther is, I don't know. And like, I could look those things up, but like, there's a lot of that lingo. Like, nothing is just like, it's not a gun. It's like a whoozie badu.
Yeah.
And, there's like, do I have to say that every time, or can I just call it a gun?
Are you going to David Lee Roth scat for me right now?
No.
Okay. I know you're not feeling well, so I feel like you're living a little dangerous tonight.
Come on, I have my dignity intact.
Well, I mean, something like that to me is cool, though, because, again, after my knee jerk of mocking this, now that I know it was like a high school kid who created this, I think it's amazing because that's the kind of thing where you're just going to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and you are using the full range of your imagination. And then anyone who's opening the box for the first time, sight unseen, is looking through it and be like, man, I wonder what the Sholari Gate is, or whatever you just said. But that's the thing. Like, now everything is kind of just handed to you in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Where with this, I mean, I'm looking through the book, I'm looking at the artwork, and there's a lot of stuff that, especially I think for like a high school kid, is really a step above. Like maybe it's a little bit above the pay grade of what I'd imagine I could create in high school. There's a chart in there that's a D100 chart for what your character is addicted to or what kind of quirk they have, which I think is really clever.
Yeah, well, and that's a lot. You don't have a lot of life experience in high school. Maybe this kid did. I don't know. And I think that's one of the cool things about it. You're exactly right, is that there's just such a huge outpouring of his teenage creative energy into this thing. And there's like everything is in it. It feels like other games. It feels like John Carter of Mars. Like there's a bunch of like,
oh, there's definitely a John Carter of Mars vibe to this, which is
especially
awesome.
those Martians with the 4 arms. Like,
Yeah.
like how weird those are. A lot of stuff in Jorune is extra weird, but like coming from there. But then you have Mike's art come in and it's just so unifying. So it takes something that should be really all over the place. I mean, I look at stuff that I wrote when I was a teenager. It's crazy. It just put everything
Right.
in there. But his art is
I wrote about my feelings mostly.
But this dude's art just brings it all together, and it like makes it a cohesive whole that it really shouldn't probably be. Although in general, I feel like if you read through the books, you get like a good vibe. Like I think his parents helped a little bit. Certainly with funding for the first round of publishing.
Very cool, parents.
Yeah,
Mom
seriously.
and dad.
And this thing, despite it not being like the most popular game, it did go through, there was the first edition, which has, I think, 2 supplements for it. And then he put a second edition out, which is the one that I have, is the box set, which has a couple supplements. And then I think he went to college, or he was in college when the second edition came out. It was just like, I can't keep supporting this, and it's not making me a lot of money, so I'm going to stop. Then Chessex buys it.
The dice company?
Yeah.
Really?
And they put an edition out. I have a couple books of that too. They actually handle it pretty good, but there's not a lot of appreciable change when Chessex gets it, which I think is sort of testament probably to how much time and energy Chessex wanted to dump into this thing.
They are a dice company.
Yeah, but also at the same time, I think that it was also, good enough. Like he did a decent enough job for Chessex to be like, well, we're just going to kind of put
Just
it out.
tag in here.
Yeah.
So speaking of dice, what kind of dice do you roll when you play Jorune?
So I think that you use a little bit of everything. There's a D20, D100, a D3, which doesn't really exist. I mean, like...
There's no such thing as a D3, Stu.
I mean, there is a D6 and you just divide by 2.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. D3?
Well, actually, I think you can get a D6 that is, labeled 1 through 3, 1, 2, 3.
I bet Chessex makes it.
There's also Goodman Games, Dungeon Crawl Classics. They have like an array of like weird dice. They might have a D3 that's like a weird, like pencil point that you just toss on your table. Have you ever seen those dice? They're super weird.
Blasphemy.
What part?
All of it. I don't know. A D3.
Yeah, like they definitely have a D30 and maybe like D17.
Yeah, I've seen like a D30, D40, D50.
And they're all like weird tops and like wands.
Just give me the basic D20, man. Doing all this math is enough.
Yeah, seriously.
So, all right. So you use an array of dice to play the game. So it's a standard RPG that takes place in the Skylands of Jorune.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like the game, like I said, it's typical of the time where it's extremely complex. It's simulating systems, probably simulating more systems than it needed to for it to be a fun game. There's multiple different sorts of magic systems because like there's psychic stuff. And then there's like every alien sort of has like their own weird, like humming magic thing.
Nobody understands psionics.
It's true. It's just a super weird, super rich, surprisingly rich for what it is at the time. And it's just something that like I love that. I love the idea of like this kid in high school, just because I was sort of like that kid. I was a little too young in 85 to do that. But like I like self-publishing. I've kind of done that,
Maybe just a little bit over the last decade.
Yeah, But like it's just cool that he could have gotten in and spend so much money on advertising that I've known about Jorune for years. Just when I got those Dragon magazines a couple years ago, like the first thing that I like looked through and remembered was those Jorune ads. And I was just like, I need that box set. It's on eBay. I could find this.
See, once you said it like that, I do recall seeing the ads in Dragon magazine. And I think to myself, man, this high school kid goes and creates this world. He creates this whole RPG game. He does it as a high school kid. And then he's placing all of these ads, maybe with the help of his parents, maybe not. Either way, these are 80s ads. You really had to work for it with an 80s ad.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Like now on my phone, I have an app that when I am about to host a D&D night at the Bar Pet Shop in Jersey City that I host the D&D night at once a month, I can go on my phone, snag a picture off the Google, I could put some words over it, I can make an ad and just email it off and it's everywhere. Like I can't imagine having to go and create a game from scratch in the 80s and then have to do all your own advertising for it. That's a lot.
Digital pre-press makes everything easy. Like I feel like I'm cheating every day when I publish like a magazine because it's like I don't have to worry about paper. I can lay it all out on my computer. Like I don't know how this how do you lay out? I look at these books. It's like, how do they get laid out? Like how do you do that? Like do you have like a movable type? Like how does this work?
I don't know, man.
Like, and then illustrations, like, and then they'll put the border line through like the guy's head at the top. So it like bleed through, like, cause I deal with that a lot when I'm taking pictures for the feed. I'm just like, why is that line there?
Yeah.
And it's just like, how do they do that? Do they just put it in with a ruler and then take a photo of it? Like,
it's magic.
It was magic. I make fun of the fact that early Chaosium books were basically like photocopied pieces of paper that were typed. But like, if you put a gun to my head and was like, make a book, but don't use your computer, that's exactly what it would look like.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I would find my typewriter, I would type it out, and I would photocopy it, use a stapler.
Like I think of all my band flyers from the 90s, they all look like ransom notes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like terribly made, copied at the local Kinko's, like ransom notes. And here are these ads in the back of the Dragon magazine, and they're gorgeous. They're great looking. They're not just, oh, I just threw a bunch of stuff together and I cut up my mom's Mary Claire and got a glue stick and then went to the copy machine. It's like, no, this is an actual ad, and you should buy my game because I'm a professional.
Yeah, and I mean,
high school,
the people who did that kind of work were called paste up artists, I believe, and I think it's like a lost profession. I don't think that, like all those people were super talented, and it's kind of sad.
Wow.
This world
we live in. Technology has ruined everything.
The extinction rates.
Oh. So, Stu, do you have any final thoughts on Jorune?
No, but now I'm thinking about the fact that when I went to school, I studied chemical photography, and like how stupid that was.
Yeah, right.
Immediately got out of school and everything went digital.
Yeah, I went to audio school and I learned how to buy a tape machine. Who's laughing now?
Yeah, Jesus, what the hell happened? We were so full of promise, Hambone.
We blew it. So that is Jorune. And
Wait. My real last thoughts
Okay.
are good for Andrew Leker making his game, making it beautiful, and putting it out there way back in 1984, because I still couldn't do what he did.
Neither could I.
Yeah.
Even with a Mac. So one of the things I want to chat about for the last segment of the show is, I started dabbling back in Magic the Gathering again.
Oh God, really?
Did you ever play that with me or no?
Once, and I kicked your butt.
Yeah, you retired as champion, you dick.
Yeah, well, I got some crazy monster card, and it was just like impossible for you to beat.
Beginner's luck.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But it was never for you though, right? That's one of the
No.
games that you never kind of got into.
No, I do not understand the appeal at all.
So for me, I started playing again because a buddy of mine, when his kid goes to bed, we'll go and we'll hang out, we'll have a beer, we'll play some Magic. And it's the most dignified, respectful. So I'm going to play this card. And just so you know, this card does this. And I'm like, well, sir, to you, I say, I am going to play this card. And this card does this. And if I do this and I floop the pig, this will happen to your card. It is the most like gentlemanly game of Magic ever. Like I
Flip the pig.
floop the pig. It's an Adventure Time reference.
Oh, okay.
Google it. So I will tell you that it's not like that. I know when you go to stores, you go to tournaments. However, I did used to love playing Magic the Gathering. That said, I have come across games in the past that just weren't for me. Like they just didn't grab me. And most games do. I love a board game.
Yeah.
So what I want to ask you is, knowing that, like, say, Magic wasn't your thing, have there ever been any other games that just didn't grab you?
I think in general, I want to broaden the Magic the Gathering thing. It's not just Magic the Gathering.
Right.
It's all collectible card games just kind of leave me cold.
Yeah, you're not on the flack rack.
Yeah, no, like I liked Steve Jackson's Illuminati, but that was more of a theme thing. And
Okay.
I played it like 2 times. But yeah, I mean, like board games are kind of like Monopoly. I hate Monopoly.
Oh.
I mean, that's like the classic, right? Like the one that everybody likes. But it's like also like,
But does everyone really like it?
I think it's like, because it's like got that vaunted status, everybody thinks it's like the thing, like your granny finds out that you like board games. So she's like, I'm going to get little Johnny a Monopoly. He's going to like, what's he like other than Monopoly? He likes adventure. We'll get the Adventure Time Monopoly.
Oh, I would totally love the Adventure
I
Time
know
Monopoly.
you would, but like, you know what I mean?
No,
Like, it's
I
just
get
like,
it. Yeah.
It's like the low hanging fruit gift for like your board gaming friend. It's like, you like board games and you like this thing, so I'm going to combine them in Monopoly and I'm going to give it to you, and you're going to never play it. And if you do, it's going to be like the worst and longest experience of your life.
And to that I say, always a thoughtful gift. Monopoly and an intellectual property like peanut butter and jelly. They go together. Well, I appreciate that, because I also, to that, say, does anyone actually know how to play Monopoly? Because that's a thing where, is Monopoly actually supposed to last like 14 hours and supposed to tear families apart? I don't think that was the intention of the game.
I don't think it is either. There was an article, I think, last year where somebody was just like, holy crap, I actually read the rules and we've been playing it wrong the entire time.
That's like every classic Parker Brothers, Milton Bradley board game.
Yeah, and I think that everybody has house rules that they don't even realize are house rules.
It's called cheating.
Yeah.
That's what the house rules are. It's called cheating.
But it's cheating that was like elevated by oral tradition into like some sort of family history,
Yeah.
Like it got passed down from my cousin who learned it from his friend Bob's older brother's aunt who said that they played it like that in college.
All lies. For me, it was Risk.
Really?
Yeah, I never got it. I want to try Risk again really badly. I know that when you guys started the board game club, it started with Risk Legacy, right?
Yeah, it did.
And I have not
A
played
legendary experience.
Yeah, well, I mean, gee whiz, yeah. After playing Scythe, though, I think I'm ready to go back and try Risk. But for me, every time Risk kind of came around, it was like, it's just stupid. It's homework. It's a homework game. It's history. Why do I want to play this stupid game? But now it's like, oh, God, I look at things differently because I'm 40 and an adult.
Risk Legacy is, see, this is hard because Board Game Club is kind of old now and we've played a lot of games. So we started with Risk Legacy because I so desperately wanted to play that. Our board game night, it was just like me buying board games for years and nobody playing board games until one day there was like a blackout or something, or somebody was sick and like nobody was going to the bar that night. So I was like, let's play board games. And we played Risk Legacy and everybody got hooked. And then we kind of grew out from that. But I'm not sure that I would love Risk Legacy if I went back to it now, because like Risk is kind of bogus.
Well, you've crossed the Rubicon. You've played so many other games, as have I.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to go back to that experience and try to relive that moment. I mean, we've got our staples at the clubhouse. We've got our steady rotation. We've got games like King of Tokyo. We've got Con of Cons. We have Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters, games that constantly come out to play. Some games I'd imagine like Risk Legacy might be hard to be like, you know what, we can just rotate this in when we want to.
You know, I'll be honest. If I never play King of Tokyo again, I ain't going to be upset. I played the hell out of that game. I played that game probably more than any other board game in the collection. If we never played it again, I'd just be like, oh, wow, there's other games we could play.
Are you just saying that because you want to hold on to the King of New Year's title? Because you're the current King of New Year's and you must defend this New Year's Eve.
I will, of course. And I'll always play it when it comes out. But like, do I ever want to play King of Tokyo? It's just like Cosmic Encounter.
Oh, we never played that again.
Yeah, like there was a point where it was just like we played it so much and so often. And I'm just like I put it up in the loft because I'm just like, that'll make sure that way we'll never play it again.
You've banished it to the loft.
And there was also with Cosmic, the same sort of thing happened. We played it so often. And then there was a moment where like we got nostalgic for it. We dragged it out again. And it was like, oh God, it was so long.
Yeah.
I don't know if you played it that time, but like it took forever.
No, it did take forever because by that point, everyone knew how to play it and they knew how to play it well. You had all the expansions.
Yeah.
And it was like Star Trek 1 through 19 all at once. Like every possible thing happening was happening. I don't even remember who won. I think it was just so exhausting by the end. We were just like, yeah, we're done.
It was just like every time like somebody would be like, I'm in striking distance of winning. Like everybody would go and pound them down. And then it would just, the cycle would continue over and over and over again. We talked about Cyclades recently. And I talked about how I like how Cyclades, you have one shot. Like Alexander Hamilton, so the kids tell me. And
wow, who are you?
I've been really sick the last week. I don't have internet, going a little crazy, right? So you have that one shot in Cyclades to make your play. And if it falls apart, and you're kind of out of the game. You're still in the game, but like you're not going to get another one. With Cosmic Encounter, it's just like you have like multiple shots. That's game design that will never end.
It's too much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how about you, dear listener? What are the games that you just never took to or the games you just don't ever want to play again? Reach out to us. Let us know. Hit us up at vintagerpg@unwinnable.com. So that was another awesome episode of the Vintage RPG podcast. I learned a lot, and now I feel like a terrible person for clowning on a high school kid.
Does it count if the high school kid's like 50 now?
It still counts.
Yeah, I thought so.
At my level of Irish guilt, I'll forget it. So, Stu, where can the people find you?
They can find me on Instagram at VintageRPG every day. And you can also find me writing and editing on winnable.com.
Fantastic. You could find me on Twitter at Handbreaker. I'm constantly tweeting about cute animals, Dungeons and Dragons, and professional wrestling. You could follow me on Instagram at John Hambone McGuire. All I do is post up pictures of the podcast I produce and the fun adventures that I go on, which will be more now because it's warm and I'm ready to leave my house. You can also check out my other podcast, My Thai Happy Hour. It's pop culture for weirdos wherever podcasts are found. So for Stu Horvath, I'm John Hambone McGuire. May the dice always roll in your favor.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Every review helps other listeners to find us. The Vintage RPG Podcast is a ham-fisted production. Music by Dego West. Art by Schaefer Brown. If you like the podcast, you should also consider becoming a patron at patreon.com.